At this moment, Gujarat is on a state of red alert as Cyclone Tauktae inches towards the state. As we speak, the cyclone is heading towards the center of the southern bulge of Gujarat and is expected to make landfall near Diu. It has been predicted that the cyclone will make landfall between Porbandar and Bhavnagar districts between now and 11 p.m. As a precautionary measure, Kandla Airport has been shut for all commercial operations till 2 p.m. tomorrow. However, emergency and rescue flights will be allowed to function. NDRF has deployed over 50 teams in the state for rescue and awareness efforts. Right at the top, I want to go across to our colleague Gopi Manyar. She literally is in the eye of the storm, and why I want to go across to her first is that I've covered cyclones and I know that when the cyclone comes in, telecom signals, live signals can go off very quickly. Gopi, give our viewers a sense of the preparations where you are, and I'm most worried at this moment about hospitals, because we've got a pandemic, we've got people in critical care. What kind of efforts are being made to ensure that if the lights were to go off, and that's highly likely, that those who are in hospitals, their lives are not imperiled further?
राहुल, सबसे पहले तो आपको ये बता दूं, जो लो लाइन एरिया है वहाँ से करीब 1 लाख से ज़्यादा लोगों को सुरक्षित स्थानों पे पहुँचाया गया है। जो साइक्लोन शेल्टर्स बने हुए हैं वहाँ पे उनको शिफ्ट कर दिया गया है। लेकिन सबसे ज़्यादा जो चिंता की बात है वो लोगों प्रशासन के लिए यही है कि कोविड का वक्त चल रहा है। तो यहाँ के जो लो लाइन एरिया है, लो लाइन एरिया में पहले रैपिड टेस्ट किया गया और उसके बाद लोगों को शिफ्ट किया गया, और जिन लोगों का रैपिड टेस्ट पॉजिटिव आया उनको अस्पताल में शिफ्ट किया गया। और जो पूरा अगर हम बात करें 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, इन 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो कोविड अस्पतालों की बात करें तो करीब 1400 जितने कोविड अस्पताल है इन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में जो वर्स्ट अफेक्टेड होने वाले हैं साइक्लोन की वजह से। तो उन जो 1400 जितने हॉस्पिटल्स हैं वहाँ पे प्रशासन के ज़रिए ये कहा गया है कि वो एक्स्ट्रा ऑक्सीजन रखें ताकि 24 आवर्स तक अगर उनके पास ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई ना हो तब भी उनको ज़्यादा इश्यू ना आए। साथ ही जेनसेट रखने के लिए कहा गया है, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से ये माना जा रहा है और आज मुंबई में जिस तरीके से इसका कहर बरपा है साइक्लोन का, तो माना जा रहा है कि जो लो लाइन एरियाज़ है या जो कोस्टल सिटीज़ है वहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा वर्स्ट अफेक्ट करेगा। तो वैसे में यहाँ के जितने भी हॉस्पिटल्स हैं, आज हम कुछ हॉस्पिटल्स में भी गए थे, ऑक्सीजन के साथ साथ जेनसेट रखा गया है, साथ ही आईसीयू ऑन व्हील रखा गया है ताकि अगर ज़्यादा साइक्लोन हो, ज़्यादा वहाँ पे उसका जो नुकसान है वो ज़्यादा अगर इमारत में भी नुकसान होता है तो पेशेंट को तुरंत ही आईसीयू ऑन व्हील के ज़रिए दूसरे सुरक्षित स्थानों पे पहुंचाया जाए। आज पोरबंदर से करीब 17 जितने पेशेंट को जूनागढ़ में शिफ्ट किया गया, क्योंकि बिल्डिंग का जो कंस्ट्रक्शन था वो हो सकता है कि इतनी हवा ना झेल पाए और वो कॉलेप्स हो जाए, जिसके बाद उनको शिफ्ट कर दिया गया। इसके अलावा अगर बात करें तो कोविड प्रोटोकॉल को फॉलो किया जा रहा है। साथ ही एनडीआरएफ की करीब 40 जितनी जो टीम है उसे भी तैनात कर दिया गया है। खुद प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री विजय रूपानी के साथ बातचीत की है और उनको कहा है कि अगर स्टेट को ज़रूरत रही तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पूरी तरीके से मदद करेंगे। साथ ही गृह मंत्री अमित शाह के साथ भी उनकी बातचीत हुई है गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री की, और आश्वस्त किया गया है कि अगर ज़रूरत रही तो नेवी, एयरफोर्स और आर्मी इन तीनों विंग को यहाँ पे डिप्लॉय किया जाएगा जो लोगों के रेस्क्यू के लिए काम में लगेंगे। राहुल,
राइट, थैंक्स गोपी, स्टे सेफ योर होल क्रू. I wish you all the best and I hope that this night passes peacefully with as little damage as is possible. But make no mistake, there will be damage. Efforts have been made to evacuate people from low-lying areas. This is a very, very anxious moment for those in the eye of the storm. Earlier this morning, there were heavy winds with speeds of up to 100 plus kilometers that blew through India's commercial capital of Mumbai. While Tauktae will make landfall in Gujarat, as the cyclone winds went past Mumbai, there was heavy rain in different parts of Kerala, Goa, Maharashtra, in Mumbai as well. The city brought to a complete standstill.
High tide, heavy rains and winds lashed Mumbai as Cyclone Tauktae intensified into an extreme cyclone. Maximum city received heavy rainfall early evening, with gusty winds that escalated up to 120 kilometers per hour.
The entire city is facing heavy rain and heavy gusts of wind. Right now, there are these low-lying areas like Andheri subway. There are many low-lying areas in the city which are already inundated with water, which we generally see during the monsoon. But pre-monsoon, because of the cyclone, these areas are already inundated.
A barge with 273 personnel on board and another one with 137 on board has gone adrift off the Mumbai coast. Indian Navy's INS Kolkata and INS Kochi have been deployed for rescue operations. Several other ships and aircraft have also been readied for rescue missions in the wake of intensifying cyclone. While an orange alert has been issued for Mumbai, Thane and Palghar districts, there's a red alert in Raigad.
Nobody has been allowed to venture near these areas, but these strong winds are leading to tree collapse incidents, and due to those, there are accidents happening. People are getting injured.
The rain caused waterlogging in the financial capital. Heavy traffic jams were reported as trees were uprooted. A tree even fell on the tracks between Vikhroli Ghatkopar railway station. The cyclone also disrupted the local train services. Several residential buildings were also damaged due to heavy winds. The Bandra Worli sea link has been closed for traffic. Mumbai airport was also shut. The cyclone is posing a major threat to Mumbai's COVID fight. One of the jumbo COVID care and vaccination centres in BKC was damaged due to the rain. Thankfully, COVID patients had been shifted from there in time.
They have all been swept away. In fact, the barricades that you see here, the gutsy winds that the city has witnessed, that has really put all the barricades out, and you can really see the difficult condition that this entire COVID center is in right now, and the vaccination center, which is the reason why most people feel that it will take a while before all this can be really restored.
3 जम्बो सेंटर्स आपण मोकळे केले, त्यांना दुसरीकडे नेलेले आहे. त्या 3 जम्बो सेंटर्स मध्ये पुढच्या 10 दिवसात मेंटेनन्सचं जे काही काम आहे ते आपल्याला करता येईल, कारण योगायोगाने आता केसेस कमी आहेत आपल्याकडे मुंबईत. तर ते आपण ती पण काळजी घेतोय, म्हणजे पुढच्या पावसाळ्यासाठी ह्या जम्बो सेंटर्स मध्ये जिथे जिथे मेंटेनन्सची गरज होती ती पण आपण पूर्ण करू.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray on the situation in Maharashtra. Bureau Report, India Today.
You know, for a sense of the evacuation efforts that have been made, and most importantly, efforts to save the lives of COVID patients in various hospitals that fall in the eye of the storm, I'm joined on this broadcast by S.N. Pradhan. He's the Director General of the National Disaster Relief Force, a key man supervising relief operations at this time. Mr. Pradhan, welcome. How prepared is the NDRF as India's #1 disaster relief force for the cyclone coming and making landfall between now and 11 p.m.?
Well, Rahul, I think all the preparations have been made optimally is what I can say. Certainly, it is very clear now that Gujarat is going to be the impact state, and about 10 to 14 districts of Gujarat are going to be impacted very strongly. Having said that, our teams are on the ground, and as you said, more than 50 teams of NDRF and SDRF are working in tandem, along with the local police, the local civil defense, the local fire services, etc. The idea, of course, now is to make an effective evacuation in a complete way, because there will be damage to telephone lines, there will be damage to electric poles, there will be trees uprooted, there will be some kachap houses damaged, and even maybe weak pakka houses. That is something we have to take in the stride, and will have to be seen in the post-cyclone period, immediately post-cyclone period. But what is of critical importance is that no lives are lost, and the Prime Minister, the Honourable Home Minister, the Cabinet Secretary yesterday, in all their meetings had impressed upon the state government of both Maharashtra and Gujarat that zero loss of life should be our avowed aim, and that is what we are aiming at. That is the objective of the whole exercise, and I hope we optimize on that. I know it's going to be a tall claim to say that nothing will happen, But certainly, we are trying our best to ensure that there is nil loss of life or minimal loss of life, and that is what all the effort is now focused on.
Stay with me, Mr. Pradhan, because I want you to see and I want our viewers to see the story that we've put together about hospitals that are, likely to be hit. We already know that the vaccination drive has been hit in Maharashtra and Gujarat, and you've got several patients who actually had to be evacuated from where they were, and their condition is topmost in our minds right now.
When it rains, it pours. Another surge in the middle of a virus surge. Packing winds as high as 185 kilometers. Tauktae roared up before Monday night's landfall in Gujarat. The timing couldn't have been worse for India. Now the global epicenter of the pandemic, the country is faced with a new natural disaster.
सेंटर से 600 रुग्ण हमारे शिफ्ट किए गए हैं बीकेसी हमारा मुलुंड हमारा दहीसर से पूरे पेशेंट सुरक्षित जगह पे लेके गए हैं.
The storm has added to the challenges posed by the pandemic's deadly onslaught. More than 600 patients have been moved to safer government centers from various designated COVID facilities in Mumbai alone.
Administration really had the foresight of really removing all the patients from here, closing the entire vaccination center, and they have really been proved right. Look at the condition of the center right now. The entire entrance is waterlogged. The covering that was there on not just on this entire path but also on the tents that you see, they have all been swept away. In fact, the barricades that you see here, the gutsy winds that the city has witnessed, that has really put all the barricades out.
Authorities in other coastal states also shifted many hospitalized COVID patients away from the cyclone's direct trajectory. But some on ventilator support could not be moved because of risk.
जो वेंटिलेटर पे है और जिसका ट्रांसफ़र शिफ्ट करना पॉसिबल नहीं है, तो मैंने जो डॉक्टर टीम ने उनको पूरा उसका सजेस्ट किया कि अगर हो पाया तो हम उसे यहाँ पे ही रखेंगे, क्योंकि बीच में उनको रास्ते में ट्रांसफ़र के दौरान कोई इश्यू ना हो जाए. तो ऐसा हमें कॉन्फिडेंस में लिया है, हमें सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन दी गई है, एंड दे आर डूइंग एट लेवल बेस्ट एट देयर ओन.
Extra ambulances are on a standby and oxygen stocks reserved for any potential emergency.
This is the most severe cyclone that going to make a landfall in Gujarat since the 1998 storm that caused heavy damage in the state. The authority, they are focused on preventing any disturb that could hit medical and critical care supply for COVID patient.
One of the key areas of attention is electricity. Backups are put in place in anticipation of outages in COVID hospitals of Saurashtra.
Arrangements have been made for COVID hospitals. Dual power supply arrangements have been done. Not only that, DG sets for all the hospitals in Saurashtra where patients are there.
The storm has already pummeled Goa, which struggled with an oxygen crisis in its top hospital. The opposition here tweeted videos and stills of flooded wards. But the government says their COVID facilities have dodged the bullet.
नहीं कुछ नहीं, साइक्लोन बहुत बड़ा था और इसी के वास्ते यानी जो बारिश का पानी आया था वो विंडोज से अंदर आ चुका, क्योंकि विंडोज ओपन थे, उसके रूफ का कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आई हैड चेक्ड और मुझे लगता है मुझे वो 2 घंटे में पूरा क्लियर कर दिया है. ज़्यादा करके पानी विंडोज से ही अंदर आया था.
A monster storm and a monster virus together. A massive undertaking for the governments in states and at the centre to maintain life-saving supplies for hospitals in this twin crisis. Bureau Report, India Today.
Mr. Pradhan, now the NDRF has dealt with cyclones in Orissa, elsewhere, but this pandemic, which is raging at this time, makes the task of the NDRF that much more complex, because of the fact that you've got patients who require critical care, and suddenly you could have a wave coming in or heavy flooding coming into the hospital. What kind of efforts have you made to ensure that patients are already evacuated, which could potentially lead to spreading infection if you're not doing it properly, and B, to ensure that when the storm comes in, that they are well and taken care of, sir?
I think, Rahul, the exercise to evacuate the patients started yesterday itself and some day before yesterday. The chief ministers yesterday were in full agreement with the Home Minister that the jumbo hospitals and the makeshift hospitals which have been set up and the vaccination centers will have to be re-looked at in the light of the threat from the cyclone and the wind speed. And that is what exactly has been done. And although the makeshift infrastructure has certainly been damaged, as I can see, at least the patients' lives have been saved. Yes, there is a threat of infection, but all the precautions have been taken, and where NDRF was required to help, NDRF has helped. But there is other avenues of help also, and other scopes of help in this COVID situation vis-a-vis the cyclone. Only in the morning, a line of oxygen tankers were lined up in Panaji town because of a tree that had fallen along with an electric pole. It was cleared immediately by the NDRF on priority vis-a-vis other areas, so that the tankers could pass through and go to their destinations, probably for vital supply lines. Similarly, yesterday one of the discussions was that from Jamnagar in western Gujarat, which is going to be an impact area, a lot of oxygen supplies by train and road go through 6 very vital routes, which the CM was at pains to delineate. That these were the routes which supplied vital oxygen to entire North India, entire Western India. So all these routes have to be kept clear. So the NDRF teams have been briefed that they should be very aware that in the immediate post-cyclone time, if the roads have been blocked in any way, they have to be also cleared. But one of the important decisions that was made yesterday between the Chief Minister and the central government was to keep 48 hours or more worth of oxygen supply for their states. And I think that has been ensured through under the aegis of the Ministry of Road Transport as well as Ministry of Health in consonance with the state government. So I think some due diligence has taken place along with the shifting of the patients, and I think we should be able to tide this situation as a special challenge. Even if it's a special challenge, I think some due diligence in the right direction has been done.
Well, our fingers are crossed and we wish you all the best. We hope that this cyclone passes with as little damage as possible, because to have to deal with the devastation of a cyclone is the last thing India needs ever, and most certainly at this time. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Your time is precious. I don't want to hold you any longer. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Usually, it used to be the east coast of India which would witness more cyclones every year. But scientists now believe that the Arabian Sea is fast becoming the hotbed of cyclones. Climatologists say that rising temperature could be turning the Arabian Sea into the new cyclone generator.
Cyclone Tauktae has pummeled India's western coast from Kerala and Tamil Nadu to Maharashtra and Gujarat. It is the first major cyclone to originate in the Arabian Sea, long considered peaceful this year. Since 1891, conventional wisdom in climatology put the average number of cyclones building in the North Indian Ocean at 5 a year. Only one of the 5 emerged in the Arabian Sea. However, in the past 3 to 4 years, Arabian Sea seems to have become a hotbed of cyclones. In 2018, while the Bay of Bengal maintained its average 4 cyclones a year, the Arabian Sea produced 3 cyclonic storms. In 2019, the Arabian Sea overtook the Bay of Bengal with 5 cyclones to 3. In 2020, the Bay of Bengal produced 3 cyclonic storms, while the Arabian Sea generated 2. In May end and early June, 3 cyclones had made news, 2 including Nisarga in the Arabian Sea and Amphan in the Bay of Bengal. Scientists attribute increased frequency of cyclones in the Arabian Sea to climate change. Climate scientist Hiroyuki Murakami in his study found that 64% of cyclones in the Arabian Sea in recent years were caused by climate change. Scientists studying cyclones have observed that the surface temperature in the Arabian Sea has been rising for about 40 years. Heat is food for cyclones. The temperature in the Bay of Bengal usually remains above 28 degrees Celsius. The Arabian Sea, in contrast, used to have temperature 1 to 2 degrees Celsius lower than that in the Bay of Bengal. Now the rise in temperature in the Arabian Sea has pushed it in the 30 to 31 degrees Celsius zone of India's west coast, especially in the midsection around Goa. Tauktae originated in the same region. If climate change keeps pushing sea surface temperatures in the Arabian Sea on the same pattern, its cyclonic equation with the Bay of Bengal may change forever. Bureau Report, India Today.
With me on the broadcast at this time is Mahesh Palawat. He's with the SkyMet weather team. Dr. Roxy Matthew Call is the scientist at the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. First, if you can tell us about what you're picking up about this cyclone now. Dr. Roxy Matthew Cole, you've seen so many cyclones. How does this compare with everything that we've seen in the recent past?
Thanks, Rahul, for calling me in this important discussion. And in fact, I was listening to the news where Aditya Thackeray was saying that Maharashtra has never seen a cyclone like this before. And I would like to give an interesting stat on that. This is, in fact, or most probably, the first ever extremely severe cyclone to come so close to Mumbai since the year of 1891. That is like the last 130 years. So, well, there was a cyclone, severe cyclone in 1948 when it hit north of Mumbai, but we don't know if that was an extremely severe cyclone. But that aside, this is the first extremely severe cyclone to come so close to Mumbai. So, in fact, what Aditya Thackeray said is more or less right. And we are seeing more and more of these kind of cyclones coming up in the Arabian Sea. In fact, our study shows that both the frequency, that the number of cyclones, and also their intensity are increasing in the Arabian Sea. And one of the reasons is that the oceans are warming up. So the Arabian Sea compared to Bay of Bengal used to be relatively cooler. And while Bay of Bengal, like the information that is showed there before showed that is generally about 28 degrees Celsius, we call it a Whirlpool region. And cyclones draw their energy from these Whirlpool regions. And now Arabian Sea is also becoming a Whirlpool, supplying that additional heat and energy which it has acquired from global warming. So that is one thing we have seen. And another factor is that these cyclones are intensifying quite rapidly. So weak cyclones are intensifying into a super cyclone or extremely severe cyclone in less than 24 hours. So that is like when you are going to sleep, it's a weak cyclone. And when you wake up, it's like a severe cyclone at your doorstep. So that gives us less time to respond to its impacts. But the good thing I should say is that there is a positive behind it, that our forecast models have picked up the signals of these cyclones and the system way ahead, almost a week ahead that the NDRF that we talked about. They were well prepared in time. So that is the positive news about it despite all the...
No, that's absolutely true, because when the super cyclone hit Odisha in the early 2000s, at that time the warning wasn't as strong and the mobilization, the evacuation wasn't strong either. Mahesh Palawat, I've covered Cyclone Tauktae, and the one question I have, and I just want you to explain this to our viewers, why do these super cyclones or severe cyclones hit at night? Is it typically at night, or is this just one of those things, or by the time the winds come, or is it just one of those things that it's hitting at night but actually could hit at any time?
No, it is just a coincidence that super cyclone or extremely severe cyclone is hitting coast during night time. But this is not the case that it can happen any time. It may be in the morning hours, afternoon hours, or evening hours. It can be a coincidence. But this particular the extremely severe cyclone, which I've said this time, we have seen that it has intensified very rapidly from severe cyclone to very severe cyclone, and thereafter extremely severe cyclone. And the doctor has said rightly that Bay of Bengal was warmer than Arabian Sea. Now, due to global warming and climate change, Arabian Sea is also warming rapidly, leading to further intense and intensity and frequency of cyclones are increasing over Arabian Sea as well, and they are moving towards usually over Arabian Sea and have a tendency to move in northwest direction towards Oman and Yemen. But 2 to 3 out of 10 have a tendency to recurve in northeasterly direction and towards sometimes Gujarat and Karachi and sometimes towards Maharashtra. Yeah.
How prepared would a city, Dr. Oxy, like Mumbai be? This is a near save, as it were, that the cyclone is going towards less populated areas in Gujarat where there will be devastation, there will be destruction as a result, but it's not coming into as densely populated an area as Mumbai, where evacuation would be far tougher. Is Mumbai at all, is there a chance, you think, all your scientific models will say that there's a chance that the winds could actually hit landfall near Mumbai?
Well, as Arabian Sea becomes a hotbed and the storms, and it's not just storms. Our studies actually shows that intense heavy rainfall events, extreme rainfall events are also increasing because Arabian Sea is much active these days. So we are seeing as more and more events, more and more storms form in the Arabian Sea, the chances of them hitting the west coast, especially south in parts of Maharashtra, densely populated parts of Maharashtra like Mumbai, can't be ruled out. This was even earlier pointed out as a possibility as global warming moves along. And one important aspect is that we can't be certain about the tracks of cyclones that cyclones take in the future, because it all depends on how the upper level winds are. Cyclones have a vertical height of about 10-12 kilometers or more. So it all depends on how the steering winds, the winds that steer the cyclone in the upper levels are. So, and this can be anything during that time in a particular time in the future. So it all depends on, if you have more and more cyclones, the chances of hitting in the west coast are more. And the thing is that we need to be much more prepared, because these kind of cyclones and extreme rainfall events are increasing, along with an increasing sea level rise. So we have, that's like a triple impact. So
no, sorry, what? I didn't catch what you're saying. As well as a increasing what?
Sea level. Sea level rise.
Okay, sea level.
So the water level is increasing again. So that's like a triple impact. Okay. So we have a cyclone with strong winds lashing on the coast. Suppose we can imagine Mumbai is a case. So it is also bringing in a lot of water with the waves, and our observations and forecasts show that the waves are like 3 to 5 meter high along the Maharashtra coast, even near Mumbai. So along with that, we need to remember that there is a increasing sea level also. It's very gradual, but it's increasing with time. And on top of that, these cyclones are bringing heavy rainfall. So that's a triple impact, where the coastal land near Maharashtra coast can be flooded for a longer time, making it difficult for us to to respond to that or mitigate their impacts. So we need to have, and these events are going to increase in the future as Arabian Sea continues to warm because there is no stop on the emissions so far. So that means we need to have a long-term vision. We need to strengthen our coastline. There are multiple ways to do that. So that's an action we can take.
Okay. So Dr. Roxy and Mahesh Palawat, thank you very much for joining us. Mumbai had a near miss today. A super cyclone just, going past towards the coast of Gujarat. Vidya joins us. She was tracking what's happened in the day, and she's also giving us the latest update on how things are across your city right now. Vidya?
Well, Rahul, the rain has almost come to a standstill. The wind is not as gutsy as it was earlier in the day, but certainly, the city will take a while to get back to normalcy because there are these huge number of trees that have fallen on to the roads. Apart from these trees, there are also, the many homes that have been damaged, a whole lot of structures that have been damaged, they need to be repaired. So all that will certainly take a while. And certainly for the COVID centers, remember, COVID center, the BKC jumbo set and the other COVID centers that have been damaged, they will take at least 10 days for these jumbo COVID centers to be repaired. And that will certainly hurt the COVID treatment that the people in Mumbai were getting because they are really huge places that were really providing big help to the people of Mumbai during this pandemic. But they will obviously, because they are not in service anymore because of the this cyclone, they will take about 10 days is what we are being told to get back to normalcy there.
And what about COVID patients? What about vaccination? Not just in Mumbai, but other places in Maharashtra, I told that took a hit today?
Yeah, vaccination was suspended because of the very fact that people did not, like the Maharashtra government had very clearly said that no one should be really moving out. As much as possible, stay indoors. And because of precisely this, the vaccination was put on hold. The entire services are suspended. They will be renewed tomorrow. Although not at all the centers, the BMC has clarified because of the sheer fact that vaccines have not reached Mumbai and other locations, also because of the cyclone. But certainly the vaccination process will start from tomorrow, one. And secondly, the treatment of all the COVID patients that has been going on in the hospital, they will continue there until the jumbo centers that the entire authorities had built up, they are renewed.
Okay, stay with us. I just want to show our viewers where things are in the cyclone right now. So you've heard from our reporters on the ground. There you see, this is the eye of the storm. Our reporter was here in Veraval. It's towards Una, very close to Porbandar, Junagadh, along where the winds are going in. This is what that cyclone looks like. So this is the eye of the storm for a while, and since I covered Phylin, I remember for a while it seems as if nothing is happening. It's all quiet, and you wonder that if the cyclone is so quiet, if the cyclone is so close, why are things so quiet? It's only later that you realize that you are in the eye of the storm, and that's when the cyclone then comes and hits with fury, which is unimaginable. I had water coming up till beyond the first floor. So we're on the first floor, water in our room, slept on top of the kitchen slab. That's how bad it is. So our thoughts and prayers with everyone who currently finds himself in the eye of the storm. So this is where the cyclone is. There's already reports coming in of people being injured, 6+ people being dead, and as a result of this storm. And we'll track what happens once this storm makes landfall. What we're going to do right now, though, is slip into a quick break. When I come back, we'll shift our attention to this drug that's been released by the DRDO. It's supposed to play an important role in the fight against COVID. We'll tell you what is